So a while back now, Bruce has requested of me to make a video on ways you can defeat Chaos Warriors. So after doing some testing and some extensive research, I have come up with the following ways on how to defeat them. I'm going to go over this first point really quickly because I've already talked about it to death. So, when you're siding in games 2 and 3, make sure you remove your Blueness of Cross out, because they do not work against any sort of aggro deck. Okay, that's it. Enough said on that matter. Another way to attempt to handle Chaos Warriors is to try and outstat them. I've already discussed in a previous video why I believe that Gravekeeper Spy might not be the best at countering Chaos Warriors in particular due to Grand Ninja Sasuke. But for this part of the video I wanted to look at 3 cards in particular: Berserk Gorilla, Skilled Dark Magician, and Zombira the Dark. I'll start with Skilled Dark Magician. Now, Skilled Dark Magician compared to the other two survives Tsukiyomi, but in terms of countering Chaos Warriors specifically, it dies to Blade Knight when it's on 2000 attack, and also has a draw with the opposing Skilled Dark Magicians that are commonly found in the Chaos Warrior decks. If we were to look at Berserk Gorilla's stats alone, I would probably say it's the best out of the 3, considering its negative effect is far less hindering than Zombira the Dark's. However, Berserk Gorilla doesn't really work in Chaos decks because of its Earth attributing. This makes it more difficult to play Chaos monsters, and if we're being completely honest with ourselves, the best decks out there do tend to play Chaos monsters. So Zombira the Dark is a warrior. It can be searched with reinforcement of the army. It's dark, meaning it has some synergy with Chaos monsters, and it has 2100 attack, meaning that it beats over everything that the Chaos Warrior lineup has to offer. But its effects are very, very detrimental. Not being able to attack directly is huge, and you're being unable to apply pressure on an empty board, and the decrease in attack will allow your opponent to eventually beat over Zombira the Dark. I kind of like to think about Zombira the Dark as a Gravekeeper Spy, but you just put him in attack mode instead of in defense mode, and this way he can stand up to Grand Ninja Sasuke. So out of the 3 cards, I would say Zombira the Dark is definitely the more defensive option of the 3. However, it's also the least likely to die to Chaos Warriors. However, if there's no Chaos synergy at all, I would choose Berserk Gorilla, so really it depends on the deck. Air Knight Parshaft's stats do not cut it against Chaos Warriors, and to make things worse for it, it requires a sacrifice at the beginning before it's played. Therefore, when facing warriors, you need to make sure that Air Knight Parshaft is sided out. Against Chaos Warriors specifically, I think 2 good cards against them are Jinzo and Mobius the Frost Monarch, because they tend to be very good against back row heavy decks, which Chaos Warriors are, and their stats will allow you to dispatch of their common monsters very easily. Speaking of back row counters, one of the strongest cards that Chaos Warriors have in their arsenal is Solemn Judgement. Well, I have a secret strategy for dealing with that. Yeah, just negate the traps. You can imagine a Chaos Warrior's frustration where they pay half their life points to activate Solemn Judgement, only for you to play 7 Tools of the Bandit and only pay 1000 and negate their negate. Even better, if you can keep it on the field, then Royal Decree can negate traps indefinitely. Either of these cards are a fine option, but if I had to pick one against Chaos Warriors specifically, it's probably going to be 7 Tools of the Bandit. I reckon it's more effective for countering Solemn Judgement. However, in general, I would usually side Royal Decree. I'm not saying one is better than the other, however, but Royal Decree tends to do better for me when playing against Burn, and that is a deck that I don't really enjoy playing against, so I want to be able to beat it as quickly as possible. The last method I can recommend to you is by using your own trap cards to remove the monster cards from the Chaos Warriors side of the field. Using Sakuretsu and Bottomless Trap Hole, you can make 1-for-1 trades with your opponent's monsters. However, the trades, while being 1-for-1, will often work in your favour, and I'm about to explain why. So we take the situation where we have Pot of Greed in our graveyard, Magician of Faith on the field, and either Sakuretsu Armor or Bottomless face down. For this example, it doesn't really matter. If your opponent manages to summon Blade Knight, and then he attacks and you use Sakuretsu Armor, you have done a 1-for-1 trade, your Sakuretsu Armor for his Blade Knight. However, Since the Blade Knight is by itself, it would have negated the Magician of Faith's effect. So not only have you kind of done a one-for-one trade, you have prevented your Magician of Faith effect from being negated. At that point it kind of becomes a +1.5, if you get what I'm saying. You will be able to activate that effect and then get your Pot of Greed, where you wouldn't have been able to do that without Sakuretsu Armor. For that reason, I believe it's a key card in dealing with aggro-like decks. If we take another example where you have a Gravekeeper Spy face up on your side of the field and you're having to deal with Grand Ninja Sasuke, if that Sakuretsu Armor manages to deal with the Grand Ninja and save your Gravekeeper Spy, then your Gravekeeper Spy, in theory, can defend you for many more turns to come and stall out your opponent, allowing you to get ahead of the game. But I'm going to look to wrap up this video now. With these 6 tips, you should be in a better position to handle Chaos Warriors. I really hope you enjoyed the video. So I've been Rost, and I'll see you on the next one.